to me, Galvatron! Bow down to Scourge!
Welcome back to the Tiger Repainter. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with another video. This time I want to talk to you about a repaint upgrade of XTransbots Andras, the Swarm Leader, and their Scourge. This is a pretty good figure overall. It's the only real masterpiece version of Scourge on the market, and this is a repaint, a recolor, slightly different. We're going to have a look at this thing coming up here in a little bit. I did get this at Show Z. I have a link down below where you can get yours, and it's a pretty good figure overall. They've made some improvements. We'll talk about all this coming up. Looking at the box, it's a pretty big box, and it gets the job done. You know, with Scourge on the side, it's got some style to it. XTransbots does their thing here. Come on, you teasing me with Virtus? Come on, you teasing me? Please stop. You're teasing me with, well, maybe a trailer coming soon. But anyway, some great artwork. Good job there on the box. Let's have a look at this thing in its alt mode, and it looks just like you'd expect with a Scourge alt mode. And the Targetmaster plugged in on the top there. It kind of doesn't want to hold itself together. There's no real tabs holding that thing together. You do have pretty much the same color, light blue, but the dark blue is what's really different about this from the other release. And I do think they increased the tolerances on these pieces, because these fell off so easily on my other one, and they didn't fall off so easily on this model. And so much tighter tolerances. I can't seem to get this head all the way in there, but it still looks really good. And then a lot of shininess on the paint, a little bit shinier than before, so I think it's paint, not just plastic. I mean, it really does look like it's painted versus plastic, and all the shiny reflectiveness. So it looks really, really good. I'm kind of concerned about the choice of colors. Maybe they went a little bit too dark with it. Maybe the original one is a better color, but it is on and popping. We're going to look at this thing a little bit more in depth here in just a second. I do want to show one of the features. One of the features is that you can flip this up and pull the head back, and then you need to kind of twist and turn and bring the head up, and you can do this. And I kind of went into this whole I went too far with this, but I had a lot of fun with his head popped up. It's a thing from an episode that you can do with this figure, and I never did it in the first, well, I never did a first review, but I never did it the first time I had it. And so with this, it's kind of fun to do. And he does have these landing gear in here. They're a little bit hard to get out, especially in the front here. But when you get them out, it actually rolls really well on a hard surface. If it wasn't a hard surface, I don't think it'd roll that much. And you can light these up right here, similar to what you did with the first version. And we're not really into comparisons yet, but I took the time to put the batteries in the first version like 3 years ago, and they still work. I'm not going to go through the trouble on this guy, simply because it's a lot of work and a lot of money with the batteries. Moving this Targetmaster here, he is pretty simple in a way. You just kind of fold the back piece down, open his legs, fold them around to the front. Then you're going to need to collapse the handle into his back to continue folding that down, orientate his arms, make his feet look good, and you'll have this guy in his alt mode, which is very simple. And I think his alt mode does look better than his Targetmaster mode, but it's not horrible. It just doesn't tab together, and I think really if these things tab together, they'd be a whole lot better. Now you do have a flight stand with this, and with the flight stand, you can plug it into here, and it just looks like it's too big to fit the tolerance, and I'm scared to scratch the paint. Like, I'm really nervous I'm gonna scratch this paint, but you got his flight stand, and you can make it look however you want. You can have an upward angle, downward angle, whatever, but since there's a swarm team, you can have a whole team of 3 of these in their flight stand getting the job done. The size comparison next to a Blur and a Hot Rod, and it's massive. I mean, if you've never really dealt with this guy, although he looks short on the shelf, he is a pretty massive figure, and he is big next to these guys. They're a little bit smaller. They're juniors, but I guess you get what you're paying for now that he's 160 instead of the the old price of 130. He originally came out at 160, and then the price got down to 130. So they're really putting them back to 160. I think some places charge 175, but 160 is the show Z price. It's been a while since I've done this transformation, so let's just get after it and remove these side pieces here. Then we have to start untabbing all of this, and I'm going to go ahead and fold in these landing gear. Untab these pieces right here. They kind of need to move a little bit downward and get them out of there. Now, you're going to notice in here, you can actually plug the gun in right there for storage if that's something you want. Of course, I did not do that with this figure. And we're going to start disconnecting all these parts and pieces from this, and then move these pieces out to disconnect them. And we're going to need to fold this piece on a double fold upward. And I think it's painted, so I got to be a lot more careful than my first one that I did. And fold that up. Now, on this side here, we have these tabs that these folds need to come down. And then we can disconnect these arms right here. And then we have the legs. Now, I do like to do the legs first. And we're going to see if the actual feet are better than they used to be. And it looks like it already is. I mean, it already looks like the feet, the legs, the feet are already almost where they need to be. So we have to get the feet out of here, and we're going to have to push right here to get those out. So let's see if we get this to the right angle and we can push these feet out. And it seems to be working pretty good. Let's get them out of there without breaking them. And we've got that point of a heavy ratchet. Here you're going to fold the toe out, fold the heel back, and then put it into place. So that is re-engineered almost all the way around. And it's not bad. It really isn't that bad of a transformation. I probably went too far with it too. But not a bad foot transformation versus the first foot transformation. This is a lot different. You do have quite a bit of range with it still. Let me get it tucked back in there. Still not the easiest part of the transformation, but it's better than it was. So let's do this more elegant, that you can actually see it. So before, you put it to like a 90-degree angle, and then you push it through, which is still kind of what you do here, but they re-engineered it to where it just goes right through a little easier. Well, the first one was really easy. There we go. Just push it right through and open it up, and then open the heel up like so. And I think I'm going too far with it. I think that's what my problem is. I'm going a little too far with it. You don't have to go that far, because I'm used to the old one where you kind of had to go really far with that bad boy. Now on the back of these, you have to fold this tab here down. And make sure you have this landing gear tucked inside before you close the leg up, and then close the leg up, and then there's tabs to tab that in. Alright, so let's move these arms down. We'll deal with the hands and stuff later. All this feels really nice and tight. We do need to flip the head around, so we gotta kind of make sure the wings are out of the way. We get this up here and flip the head around. And so with this, we are going to fold these pieces like this, fold them in, tuck this down, and then we're going to create this collar of his right here. And he has a bit of a collar to it. I've got to clean this back up a bit. So one of the things that you can do is kind of move these to the sides here to get them out of the way, which I kind of already did. And then we're going to move this back down. I didn't show this. I guess you could have done this earlier, but you got to move this and you got to flip it around, I guess, to get it past all the wings and stuff. And then once we flip that around, get it in place, we are going to fold these out, sort of, and then double hinge it back in. I'm just ultra worried about paint chipping on this guy, because you could definitely chip that paint on this guy. And you're cleaning up the back a bit. Now, I did show on my old one, it kind of seemed like they tucked inward more than outward, but I kind of like mine outward. That sort of works a little bit better. And then you just need to really slide this all up and then fold this headpiece down into this little groove or slot, and that kind of condenses all of the junk or the kibble into sort of one area of kibble. Now to finish up with the hands, it's a real simple usual part of a masterpiece transformation. You pull that out and you expose the pink fingernails, and you know you're almost done if you got the hands almost done. Same thing on the other side. And I do feel like this was a little less stable with the new feet transformation. I mean, the transformation's better. It seemed a whole lot easier than last time, but I think I lost his thumb. But yeah, let's have a look at this guy. Here we are in his robot mode, and he looks pretty good. He looks good. He looks like a Scourge to me. Now, this piece fell off. Now, it didn't fall off at all when he was in alt mode. Pop it back in. And anytime something falls off, you know, it scares me. Also, his thumb popped off, which, I mean, I'll just chalk it up to myself. Anyway, here's his gun, and the gun is really shiny and well painted versus the original one, which was kind of a flat color. If you can see the difference, it does look different. And yeah, that's what it looks like. We're gonna put this gun in his hand, and he has the typical slot, which is really, really small for it to peg into, and then you wrap his fingers. So you kind of need to get his fingers in there before you put it in. But anyway, it holds really well. Unlike some guns don't really hold as well. That one holds really well, and it works pretty well. Looking at his face, there it is. It looks pretty good. We're going to do a comparison with the first one, of course. And again, this light gimmick would probably still work. I just don't want to go through the trouble of that again. He does have his little chin beard. Down here, this opens up to reveal the matrix. If you want to put an MP10 matrix in there. Lucky for me, I had an MP10 matrix laying around in the old Scourge that I can put into this Scourge now. Pass on the matrix of Decepticon leadership and close it up. It seemed to fit better in the old one. I'm not really sure why. It's the exact same mold. Oh, coming back to me. Somehow you have to pry these little doors open to fit the matrix in there. And I'm not going to do that with this guy since I already have that down on the other one. But I remember that being a pain in the butt last time. Lower chest, and I don't know, is this a plasma key or something? It's a plasma key, I think. Anyway, it looks like a pile of something. And looking at the colors though, I don't know if it's any more screen accurate than what we got already, but it is nice looking. It is a nice looking blue, and it kind of carries the same sort of color as chest into his inside of his wings, and it does look painted. I mean, I think that there is paint on this. You have the light blue that sort of still matches this part of the light blue, and then down here, it all looks pretty good overall. This figure is a nice looking figure, and it's nice that you get something that's different than what you already got. I like the repaint in a way. Quick on the articulation front, you get your head a little bit up, a little bit of down, side to side. Your shoulder is going to be out to the 90, and you would get a 360 without the wing in the way. You do have bicep rotation. It is a pretty old design. You lose the gun. Great. You got a double jointed elbow for an old figure. That's pretty cool too. You do have all of these independently moving fingers, but you got to be careful because they can pop off like they did during transformation, and you can move the wrist joint. You do have ab waist swivel, but no ab crunch. You do have a universal at that angle there. You do have a single jointed 90 at the knee, and you do have what we showed you with all of this ankle tilt front, back, and side to side, but getting it back into place is tricky. And again, I want to admit, it does feel like you could break these ankles pretty easy, because I think the new way they did it makes them a bit weaker. So that's all concern. All right, so what you guys have been waiting for is the side-by-side with the original Andras, and it looks good. Which one looks better? I don't know. Which one looks more cartoon? Again, it depends on where you're looking in the cartoon. I still think the original one captured the colors better. The only thing is I wish it was a little bit taller. But between the two of these, they both look great. Now, what you're going to notice, of course, is the blue, the light blue, is still pretty much the same. It's the dark blues that are different. And this dark blue seems to be the same as that dark blue on the chest, which is interesting. The face still looks exactly the same, and the blue on the head looks exactly the same. I do have some paint chipping, I guess you could say, or some wear right here on the ankle. And again, you got that foot concern. But I do feel like if you get this guy, the first version, more stabilized, he is more stable. I think that the foot fix for this makes him less stable, so that's a downside. Let's look at the back of these guys, and looking at the back of them, you're gonna notice that the backs look really close to the same, aside from where the light blue shows through. The darker blues are about the same on the back, and then all the light blues. Now, I did take some of these extra pieces off of this one because they kept falling off. The tolerances are better on the new one for like these extra little pieces here. So that's another good thing. So they've made some improvements to this figure, but I don't know if all the improvements are truly improvements, just making him a better transformation, but he's a little bit less stable. So here he is next to both versions of Cyclonus. On the right, you have Fans Toys. On the left, you have the XTransbots version. And he looks good next to either one of these if you want to put them in. And then, of course, here he is with the original version if you want to see what the original version looks next to them. Kind of like what we've been seeing on the shelves all along and what we see on the shelves right now. Here he is next to Galvatron and Cyclonus. So if that's the way you want it to look, then it looks pretty good. Now, I don't like the size, so I'm going to prop them up a little bit. There's some cheats you can do. What if you put a little something under them to make them a little bit taller? I think that looks better. These are actually fence pickets, so they're not they're not actually 1 inch. So you're looking at like 1.5 inches extra on this guy. And if you want to do a cheat, there's ways to cheat and get away with it. I mean, I don't know if you want to go that far with it, but anyway, I like to do stuff like that. The updated repaint of XTransbots Andras, their Scourge. It's a pretty solid figure. It is the best and only version of Scourge that's in the Masterpiece scale on the market right now. There is no announcement by Fans Toys to ever do one, or any other company, or MMC, or Transform Element, or any of those talking about doing this guy. This is a recolor from the original, so it's a little bit different. So it's kind of cool. It does kind of fix some of the issues, but I think the fixes actually cause different issues. The foot transformation is way more easy, but I do feel like it's a little bit less stable. A little bit, not a lot less stable. And at the end of the day, what would you rather have? And I think you could break that foot real easy if you manhandle it too hard. But still a good looking figure, and I'd recommend it. And I think the first version kind of went through the roof on price anyway, from what people were telling me. And so this thing's $160 at Show Z. Get it before the price goes up. Like, subscribe, tell your hanger out.
It is power, ultimate, unfathomable power. They do not understand. Violator of Autobots and leader of the Decepticon! I am ultimate power! Destruction of the Autobots! Destroy power of your own Matrix!
The Matrix did this to you? Then I have to take it back.
Oh! Galvatron! You don't understand! The Matrix is no mere weapon, no simple energy source.